Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be doing some fun ink blending today, and the colors I'm using are the Shabby Shutters, the Tumbled Glass, I'll be using Vintage Velvet, as well as our last color, which is Shaded Lilac. I'm also going to be using this great cloud stencil from My Favorite Things, as well as Concord 9th's Shine On stamp set and the coordinating die set. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is just grab my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. I really like this when I'm doing some ink blending with stencils because it helps hold my stencil in place. Those magnets really work, as well as that magnetic ruler. I really like to use that. I'm using some Lawn Fawn white cardstock today to do my ink blending on. And I am also using my Picket Fence blending brushes. It's one of my favorite things to use. Again, when working with stencils, I find that they blend a little easier than the typical foam blending brushes. Alright, I'm starting off with the Shaded Lilac, getting a nice ample amount of the ink onto my brush and then just blending it into that cloud stencil. I'm going a little heavier on the edge of the stencil than I am on the main part of the cardstock. I want it to fade out. I want the darker inking to be around that edge of the stencil to create that defined line of the clouds. And so what I'll do is I'll end up just speeding this up a bit so that you don't have to sit through the whole blending process. Alright, so once I get the amount of ink that I want, I can switch to my next color. Make sure you do wipe your stencil off in between, because sometimes you can end up having that transfer. Again, using these blending brushes is really great because you can simply just brush them off onto a microfiber cloth and it cleans it up really well. I don't seem to have any ink transfer from one color to another. If you are worried about that, you can wipe them with a baby wipe or spray some water on them and then just wipe them off that way. And that's one of the things that I like, is I don't have to have one sponge per color. I can use these brushes. So I've used the Shaded Lilac, the Vintage Velvet, I've done the Tumbled Glass, and now I'm working on to the Shabby Shutters close to the bottom here. This is a standard A2 size panel that I'm going to be using. And then once I have all my ink blending done, I can move on to the next portion of my card. Again, this is going to be a really simple card that I'm making. I'm just trying to find my card making mojo after all the Christmas cards I've made. I'm sure you guys can relate. I needed something colorful, fresh, and fun, and I think this card's going to do it. So this is a stamp set that my son picked out for me to use, which was really great. It took the guesswork out of what I wanted to use, and it kind of challenged my creativity. So I decided I wanted to use this sun die cut, and I'm just trying to find a good place to place it to look like it's peeking out of the clouds, and I liked that position there. There was a nice curve of the clouds in that specific portion. So I'm just using some of that thermo web tape to hold that stencil on. It's a really nice low tack tape that I can use to hold the stamp, or my die cut on when I run it through my die cut machine, and I don't have to worry about it ripping my cardstock. I also want to kind of lay out where my sentiment is going to go and make sure I like how everything looks before I go ahead and die cut that out. Since I like how that looks, I'll go ahead and run that through my Gemini Junior. It's one of my favorite die cutting machines, so if you don't have one, definitely put it on your list of things to add to your craft room. Once I've run that through my die cutting machine, I can just pull the sandwich apart, and I can push out the little die cut pieces, and I really like this little intricate sun that it cut out onto my panel. I think that's so pretty. And then what I want to do is I do want to back it with some cardstock to peek through. I want it to have that sun look. So then I'll go ahead and pull out my sunflower colored cardstock from Lawn Fawn. I think that's a great color to use for the background. I think it'll pop really nicely. And then how I adhere this is I'm actually really just going to cheat. I'm not going to line the whole back. I'll just have enough of that cardstock just that I can tape down behind there. So I'll grab my cutter bee scissors, and these are my trusty scissors that I have for cutting my cardstock. And I'm just going to trim enough to put behind that die cut sunshine. And then to adhere it to the back, again, I'm not going to do anything too fancy. I'm actually just going to grab some washi tape and tape that to the back of this panel. After I get that yellow panel or piece adhered down, I want to bring in my Stamp Perfect platform so that I can do my sentiment right away. I don't want to adhere this onto my card base and then do something wrong or adhere everything crooked. So I bring out the sentiment, and the sentiment I'm going to be using today is a little ray of sunshine to brighten your day. And I'll just line that up. And I'm going to be using my absolute favorite ink for my sentiments, and that's the Versa Clair Nocturne Black ink. It always seems to give a great impression no matter what sentiment or stamp that I'm using, so that is definitely my go-to ink. And as you can see, it's another great impression that I get. So now that I have that sentiment stamped nicely, I can go ahead and adhere the panel to my card base. Having a large tape runner like this really saves me a lot of time. I don't have to change out my tape runners or my adhesive runners so often, so I kind of like having this big mama here. I'm going to line up the corners onto my card. I apologize for my crazy head and hair being in the way as I do this, but I wanted to make sure that the corners and everything lined up perfectly. And then really that is as simple as it gets for today's card. Again, I wanted to do something quick and fun just to get back into the mojo of card making after the holidays. It's been a rather busy and hectic holiday season for my family, and so it's just nice to work on something that's simple yet I think turned out really well and is really quite pretty. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. I think what I might have wanted to do is add maybe some sparkle paper underneath, or maybe like a glitter paper. That would have been nice. I did decide to elevate it to the next level, and I wanted to decorate the envelope as well in that same rainbow pattern cloud kind of look. I thought that would be really nice to have a coordinating envelope with this. So we'll just go ahead and jump to the end. All the shading and blending that I did was the exact same pretty much that I did on the card panel itself, except for I did switch the purple and the pink colors around. So then once I get that all blended up, I'll address it. And then after I'm done addressing it, I will use a little bit of a sealer over top of that for sending it in the mail. And that's just to protect the work and make sure that the ink doesn't activate when if it happens to get wet for any reason. So I think I really like how that turned out, and I hope you will take time to make coordinating envelopes for your card projects. Make that your challenge or your New Year's resolution. And here's a look at the finished card. I really, again, like the simplicity of it, and I really think it'll help kickstart my mojo for the new year. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you guys have a very happy new year, and check out these further videos. Thanks so much, guys, and enjoy your day.